Welcome to the Kingdom Culture Podcast that was created on purpose with a purpose to empower, uplift, and guide others to the center of God's perfect will. Kingdom Culture family, welcome back to the Kingdom Culture Podcast. I hope everybody's been having a great week. Today I want to talk about something that I think many of us experience, especially if you're someone who leads with your heart like me. You know, that moment that you reach out to somebody with genuine care, no agenda, no pressure, and the response feels kind of like distant, not wrong, not bad, just different than when you were used to or expected. And then you're like left sitting with all of your emotions and feelings, wondering, how come that gets to me so much, right? Why does it make me feel icky? So I want to share a personal moment, what I learned from it, and how I've been practicing protecting my energy without becoming guarded or closed off, because I feel like that's important to not become guarded or closed off to people that can't meet you where you are, right? So what happened is I recently noticed someone that I care about a lot was a little bit more distant, nothing too dramatic, just less communication, less presence. I was prompted to check in on her constantly. I sent her simple messages like, hey, how are you doing? Is everything okay? I hope you're doing good. I invited her out and, just pretty much telling her that I was thinking about her. But she didn't respond. There was no communication whatsoever. And then she didn't show up to the places that I invited her, right? And I want to be honest, not to place blame, but to acknowledge what happened in that moment in me, right? I felt a little hurt. I felt unseen. And I honestly caught myself questioning my own reaction. Like, was I expecting too much? Was I wrong for reaching out? But in that moment, I realized something. Sometimes the discomfort isn't about the other person doing something wrong. It's about recognizing difference in capacity, right? You have to know that not everybody's going to meet you where you are. Life happens. Life is always moving and people are in different places in life and they have different capacities, right? So that's the hard truth that I had to come in and, okay with is the difference in capacity of people, right? So I had to reframe it, capacity versus character. Not everybody has the same emotional bandwidth at the same time. Some people are in seasons where they can receive depth. Others are simply trying to get through the day, right? When you're someone who naturally shows care, presence, and emotional honesty, it can feel heavy because, you want it mirrored. And when it's not, it doesn't mean that your care is misplaced, or that they failed you. It just means there was a mismatch in capacities. There's actually psychology that I got to dive into. So for people like me, our nervous systems are wired for connection. We're wired to want to, have better conversations, deeper levels of connection and everything else. So when we extend our warmth and vulnerability and don't receive acknowledgement, our bodies honestly interpret that as a disconnection. That's why it feels draining. Not because we're too much, but because our system was already, wired for that closeness that did not happen, right? And if it becomes a pattern, it's an invitation not to harden, but to become more discerning with where we place our emotional energy. So I had to become aware of the fact that I was feeling this way, because if I didn't, I think that I would still be, feeling bad or not wanting to still be friends with the person because they're not, texting back or whatever. So I had to go into the Bible, right? And it actually led me to Matthew 6:24. And it says, no one can serve two masters. And the verse goes on about you either serve God or money, but this isn't about money. It's about devotion. It honestly reminded me that I can't fully extend my heart while constantly overextending it in places that are not available to hold it, Stewardship applies to our emotions too, right? God invites us to be loving and wise with what we carry, right? So, what does it look like in real life to be responsible about your emotions, right? You keep your responses kind and simple without over-explaining. Something like, just wanted to say hi, hope your week is going well. You don't take things personally, and you don't take distance personally. This is the biggest lesson that I learned, and I love that I learned this, because you have to acknowledge, what's going on, acknowledge the distance without assigning blame or meaning to it. It doesn't mean that the friendship is gone. And maybe it is, right? Maybe it's time for you guys to move forward or whatever, but do not take it personally. People's capacities are different, right? You allow yourself to step back too without guilt. Like, I always thought that if I didn't check in or like talk to somebody, I felt guilty about that. I felt like I wasn't being who I am, because I'm constantly a person that wants to know that everybody's good. But this is the best thing that I've done. D&D now is my favorite iPhone thing, because silence isn't a punishment. It's space, right? You can take back your energy. You can take back your time, your heart, without guilt, because everybody needs space sometimes, and that's okay, right? And then the last thing is that, you save your deeper conversations for relationships that are consistently feeling mutual and safe. Those friends that you could just text randomly, and tell them the craziest thing or the craziest plot and they don't judge you for it. Those are the people that you have to, look out for and seek for. And that's where your heart's going to be seen the fullest, because they can match where you are, your capacity, your emotional deepness, and everything else, right? This week, I want you to try this, right? Observe people without judgment. Notice who feels easy to be around. Number 2 is create gentle boundaries. Like, share deeply where you feel like you can. Number 3 is practice warmth without overextension. Presence doesn't require emotional labor, right? Number 4 is release the need to be understood by everybody. And this was a big one for me too, because I'm like, bro, I'm just here. I want people to know me for me. But some people don't have that, They need your grace. They need, they need to be okay with you just not over explaining yourself all the time, and understood by some people. And then you invest where that's being given back, right? Peace often follows alignment. I'm blessed to have friends that love me for me, and we go into deep conversations. And when I'm feeling off or whatever, I know who I can go to for prayer and deep conversations for a different point of view, things like that. So invest your time with those people when you're feeling like you need to, right? Most of the time now, I kind of just journal my emotions first and then pray with God. And then if I need something else or need some support, I know the friends that I can actually go to that will have capacity for my emotional stuff, right? Because let's be real, not everybody has the same capacity, and you have to be okay with that. So you don't have to explain your heart to everybody. You don't have to dim your depth or carry it everywhere you go. And you're allowed to be loving and selective. You are allowed to be open and protected. And when you begin placing your care where it's naturally received, everything feels lighter. Relationships become easier, right? Your nervous system softens and your heart stays open without being overworked. Let your depth flow where it's welcomed. And don't you dare change because somebody didn't show up how you expected them to. Just realize that people have different capacities or in different paths in life. And those that are supposed to be deep with you will be, right? So that's what I have for you this week. Remember that I love you, but that the Lord loves you more. Always, always, always. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you feel like this is something that somebody else needs to hear. Thank you guys for being here, and we'll see you guys next week.